I really can't believe I paid 25 bucks for what's in this box right here. Hey, it's Don. We're going to look at a few things I found, including what's in this box. This box I paid 25 bucks for. Honestly, this is something that will get me a lot of money, but it isn't as exciting as some of the other items that I got today. This is pretty darn cool, but the massive amount of vintage photos that I got from a collection, some just fabulous shots from the late 19th century, some key spots, buildings, and scenery. Some really key and interesting shots of New York and other major cities, some events in here as well. Most all of them are actually ID'd with where they are also. It seems to have been taken by a professional photographer that was on a tour. I've got quite a stack of them. This isn't even all of them. Some of the most interesting things in here are some of the compilation photos, like stuff like this here, where the photographer actually combined two photos to give you a cheaper generic panoramic. Panoramic cameras back then would have been fairly expensive, I would say. It's got some interesting ones here. This is actually the Brooklyn Bridge around 1898 or so. Somewhere in that range would be my guess. Other bridges, including some very unique, interesting, full-fledged covered bridges, things you just don't see. Mississippi at Minneapolis. Really nice, interesting shots, as you can see. Very nice, fine quality, all identified. Torpedo boat building. This, I would gather, is either in New York or in California somewhere. Prospect Place in Brooklyn. Let's see if we can get that in there for you. Memorial Hall, Philadelphia. Independence Hall, Philadelphia in 1898. Monuments. Just all kinds of very interesting things. Some of these photos here, I sell this sort of thing 15 bucks, 20 bucks, 70 bucks, 80 bucks. A lot of these photos I should be able to get at least 20 bucks a piece for. I've probably got around 700 photos from this collection here, so I really can't complain. Farmouth Pike in Philadelphia. I'm not really sure what that is. Probably some sort of tunnel. Bridges. Named bridges as well, too. You can see railroads, trains going across them. Here's a park in Brooklyn, or maybe this is just Brooklyn itself. I'm not really sure. Let's see, what is this? Spokane Falls in Washington. Really nice, interesting, larger size image. I can fix the wrinkles, but these are all actual photos. They are not reprints or anything else like that. I've taken some good looks at them with the Loope. This is in St. Louis. Here's a paddle steamer, 1898 again. Something you just don't run into. Now, this would have been meant to be mounted on a card, like a cabinet card. This is the same photos that you find on cabinet cards. Technically, I could probably glue this to a card, but I wouldn't want to do that since that's not how I found it. So, really interesting, fabulous images here of days long since gone by. The Dewey Arch, I'll have to even look up. I believe that's in New York, if I'm not mistaken. You can tell the vehicles in the images. I don't see any cars at all. They're all horse-drawn buggies, it looks like, of some sort. Fire Tower in Albany, New York. That's some sort of big fire tower there to me, but that's what it says it is. Here's some sort of zoo in New York, probably a Central Park. Animals actually gated in there. Looks like horses. Some of these are not actually marked, but here's a coal breaker in Scranton. Hopefully you can see that. Nice imagery there as well. Coal breaker. Here's a better image of that Scranton one, as you can see. Again, 20 bucks a piece pretty much on any of these. I've sold so many commons in Boston. Really nice early one as well. Library building in Milwaukee. Again, these seem to follow along a trip that this person took. Here's a Brooklyn Bridge image. Again, this is an actual photo that's been printed with probably a mat of some sort from about 1898. The lady standing there was actually the wife of the person who took these, from what I see here. Very interesting. You can see it's wooden covered, the Brooklyn Bridge. Schooner. Now, I can't quite make out the name on this one here, but it gives you an idea on the types of ships that were sailing back in those days. Silk Mill, Peterson, New Jersey. Another interesting shot there, as you can see. Some of these I'll put fairly decent money on them. I just picked a few just to give you an idea on the sorts of images that I got. Now, I paid for all of the photos another 25 bucks. So between the actual box, which we will show you in just a few minutes here, and the photos, I have $50 into all of this. Fairmouth, I'm not really sure. It's in Philadelphia. It looks like Fairmouth Park in Philadelphia. Again, really early image without a doubt. There's a monument in Fairmouth. Looks like maybe Civil War monument in a park in Philadelphia. Very interesting. Very, very interesting. Log cabins in Detroit. Now, I live near Detroit. I can't tell you any time I've ever seen a log cabin in Detroit. And it does look like a homestead and not some museum to me. Rather interesting. Belle Isle, Detroit. Now, I know Belle Isle. Anybody who knows Belle Isle from the area, there's actually parks and stuff out there. This looks pretty much barren, so this is definitely early. And I'm sure some folks are going to recognize Anthony Falls. I can't quite make out the city, but somebody else. Minneapolis, I think. Let's see if we can get that in there. Rather interesting. Early images without a doubt. Another one of Anthony Falls. There's just some really nice ones here. Here's a viaduct in Patterson. I'm assuming that's New Jersey. And it looks like it's totally covered with ice. Stuff like this just doesn't show up very often. These early photos like this of massive cool scenes of a way of life, of buildings that don't exist. So these types of things always sell extremely well for us. Now you can start to look these up yourself. You're looking for 19th century images. So it would be under collectibles to photography, and then from there these would basically be album photos, but they're not mounted. I would still technically list those in that section because they're exactly what an album card is, album photo. They're just not mounted. Passaic Falls, Patterson, New Jersey. Very interesting images here. Very, very interesting. I love the fact that the artist, the photographer, actually wrote where they were also. Something you don't see every day of the week is people writing the location. Another one in New Jersey. Fort Snelling. Nice image of Fort Snelling. Now, I'd have to look into some of these buildings and what they are and the whole works. Here's the blockhouse at Fort Snelling. For those military historians. Not sure if that's still there. Not sure if it's a museum these days. But there's a lot of distant shots of that. There's some close-up shots of it. Built in 1820. Here is the Bound Tower, it looks like it says there. Rather interesting either way you go. Now here's a really interesting one here. Probably one of the more high-dollar ones. This is the inside of the courthouse in Patterson, New Jersey. Nice early shot of the Patterson, New Jersey courthouse from around 1898. So, see the eagle on the top? It looks more like a theater as opposed to a courthouse, but indeed that is what it is. And here's an outside view of the very same building we just showed you the inside shot of. There's storefronts as well, like this one here in New Jersey. You can see the Lager beer sign. It looks like a bar, saloon, or something along that line. Just a nice, interesting shot of a ton of interesting places. Now, this one's dated 1870, so some of these apparently do go back farther than that. Old South Church in 1870. Here's a well-known place, King's Chapel in Boston. Another nice shot there. Again, photos like this make us a lot of money. Again, another early shot here in Minneapolis, as you can see. Now, this one looks like Lighthouse Drive in Milwaukee. Looks like a lighthouse actually in the background. So really, really unique things here. Skaters at Capitol, Hartford, Connecticut, right here. Again, these were probably one-of-a-kind shots also. So historical shots that are one-of-a-kind that weren't mass-produced are obviously worth more money than not. I also was able to get them to throw this item here, which is a candy box from the local area. It's got a candy seal on it. I didn't care about the box so much, even though this box will probably get me 10 or 15 bucks too. But what's inside of it is also interesting to me. There's negatives in these envelopes, meaning I may have some of the actual negatives negatives that were used to take these photos. Some of them were in here when I looked through them also. You can see some of them, right, this Prospect Park image here. So there are some negatives for some of the ones in the lot I got. Now, most people don't mess with negatives. Most people think there's not much money to be had in negatives, but negatives themselves can sell for hundreds, if not tens of thousands of dollars. If you want to see something interesting and want to spend just a couple minutes doing it, go to eBay right now and go to Terapeak, type in photographic negative in the search results and sort them under collectibles and then sort them highest to lowest. You will see some negatives right this very second that sold for over $7,000. Many negatives that do not look like much can have some major value to them because of the content. Now, this box that I got for free could net us a couple $1,000 if there's any good ones from some of the photos I have here. Not only can I sell the photos, but I can also sell the negatives themselves, and the negatives in many cases will sell for more than some of the actual photos because you'll be able to get all the crisp detail using modern lenses. You can reproduce them. You can use them for books and things like that. Many times when I sell the negatives, people who do books, authors and things like that will buy them and try to figure out if they can use them in a book legally wise, or obviously if they're old enough and I can supply the correct information, they can track down owners, they can purchase them and things like that. That has happened many different times. We sold some flying tiger photos from China in 1941 prior to Pearl Harbor, and we got some buku bucks from them. The person who bought them from us actually published a major book using some of those photos. So things like that happen. These photos here, there's some very interesting shots, some shots that you just won't run into. Now to the $25 mystery box itself here. Now, this is a set of spoons. Now, I don't know how well the color of these show, but they're actually gold colored and not silver colored. I actually assumed that the coloring on these was going to be a tarnish on the front of these until I actually dug one out. For $25, even if these were sterling or just like 800 silver, even lower grade silver than that, $50 to $75 I usually get for these types of spoon sets. They're really small. They're small, tiny spoons like demi-tests or something like that. They're extremely sturdy and not very easy to bend, even though they're very thin. Now, I looked all over on the traditional spots that you would find markings on these, and where I found them at was actually on the bowl. Now, I don't think they're going to be very readily available to see in this video here. I had to get a very powerful loupe out, get some lights and stuff, and go outside actually to see it. But there's actually an eagle's head looking to the right, and it's surrounded by an octagonal box around it. Now, my basic search on any of those eagles says that this should be 18 karat gold or more. Now, it could have been like a mix is my other thought on it, and maybe there was a sterling mark. There are 3 marks in here. But after looking over this piece extremely close, and I do mean very close because I'm really excited and hoping that this is what it is, the only markings on here are a date marking from the 19th century, 1880s or so, and there's also a maker's mark of LE with some sort of bird on it. Now, I'm actually going to be taking this in and having it tested for sure. I've got 6 of them. Even if it's sterling and maybe they gold-plated it or something like that, the plating has to be 18 karat to carry that mark on it. So either way it goes, this actual boxed set here from the 19th century, 1880s or so, is still going to net me $400 or $500 based on some of the research I did on eBay. There are some of these by some very well-known makers, goldsmiths and things, that can sell for $1,500, $1,800, $2,000, or even more than that. This might be one of those auction items that I send to, say, Heritage and ask their opinion on. I've examined these probably for an hour myself because I'm really curious on this one. I very rarely run into something that's even sterling like this, and the potential that these are gold, as the mark actually states, it is really exciting to me. This is one of those pricing things that I'll have to wait quite some time. Anyway, that's what I have for you today. Hopefully that gave you some ideas, some thoughts. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button down below. You can also hit the bell icon to be notified if I post new content or go live. Subscribe and tell all your friends.
good flavor in sugarless gum.
We're looking for a new kind of sugarless gum that's carefree. For good, good tasting sugarless gum that's carefree. Carefree is sugarless. Sugarless is carefree. You know about sugarless gum, Chew Carefree.
We found good flavor in sugarless gum.
Chew Carefree, it's sugarless. Chew Carefree,
It's good.
New Carefree from Beech Nut.